Welcome to Breaking the Vow on Strong Island Radio. This is a show where we turn pain into power and find recovery after divorce, separation, and breakups. This is where we push the emotional hang-ups to the side and create a plan to reach our best possible potential. This is where the next chapter starts and how the healing begins. So let's welcome your hosts, Theresa D. and Benny, the life coach.
And welcome to another episode of Breaking the Vow. I'm Theresa D. here with my co-host.
I am Benny, the life coach. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing well. So there's some cool stuff that's about to go on today,
Yeah.
from what I'm to understand.
Some cool stuff going down.
And, you know, we know what we've experienced here in New York.
Yeah.
But there is a pretty big world out there.
You think? Yeah.
And divorce doesn't just happen in New York.
It doesn't?
I heard this goes on in other places, maybe even some other countries. Do you know someone who can enlighten us on ways to find empowerment in different parts of the world?
I sure can. She's here with us today.
Wait a second. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I certainly can. My name's Angie, and I am with Shell to Shine. I identify as a relationship and empowerment coach. I've also had a TV series called Shell to Shine. Basically, I take women who have kind of been through the ringer of relationships and take them from the shell that they've become to shining as they're designed. So
I
if
love
that's not
that.
empowerment, I don't know what is.
That is
love
that is
that.
excellent. Yeah.
I love it.
That's great. Yeah, so listen, when I'm a firm believer that whole inner child, I believe that we grow layers over us and
Yes.
then we go through these different experiences. And it's neither positive nor negative. They're just life's lessons. And there's no right or wrong. They're just what we've learned. And then it kind of pulls us away from our true self. So Shell to Shine, to me, what I love about that is you're bringing people back to their true self.
Right.
So tell us more about that.
You know, I get chills even. I was my own company, but I get chills hearing that because it's so true. Because you know what? For some reason, when we get involved in a relationship, a lot of times we focus so much on that other person,
Right.
we lose
Who
not
we
even
are.
just a little bit of ourselves.
Mhm.
We lose our
All of
identity.
ourselves.
Mhm.
Yes, we do.
You know what? And it's something that I'm trying to teach is that you need to fulfill yourself first
Mhm.
in order to have a successful and healthy relationship with somebody else. Because if you don't know yourself, how the heck is that other person supposed to know how to treat you,
Exactly.
how to show up?
So the one thing I have learned in my life, and I had to learn this through my own experiences, if you do not create healthy boundaries, people are they're going to assume the way they treat you. If you don't like it, tough. They're going to assume it's appropriate because the boundary that you've
You never set a boundary, though.
Right. Well, no, you've been so flexible and so
Right.
codependent. You have put someone else's importance beyond and above you. So at what point do you become a priority?
Right.
So to me, it sounds like you're coaching people to put themselves first.
Yes.
Would that be accurate?
Which is important.
Absolutely. You put yourself first because if you don't, who else is going to do that? And boundaries is huge because you need to, it's like that layer of protection for
Mhm.
yourself. It's not necessarily preventing somebody from coming, but you're doing like a process of, okay, is this person safe to allow within my space? Because guess what? Once they're in your space, it's difficult to take a step backwards. So if you have that boundary to begin with, it's a huge protection for yourself going forward.
I think that's interesting. So I have a question for you. when you encounter a new client or a new person comes to you, what do you find their biggest challenges are in the beginning?
When they come to me, it's after the relationship is kind of past the point of no return.
Yeah, they're
So
broken.
I like to know.
Totally broken.
Yeah, they're broken, and there's like, I just want to feel like I'm not alone.
Mm-hmm.
I want to feel like I'm not the only one experiencing this. In a group that I've established.
Yes, let's talk
online.
about that.
Yeah, I think, Theresa, when we first spoke, it might have been around the 5,000
Yeah.
person mark.
Yeah.
It's very quickly approaching 10,000 now.
Right.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So proud of you.
That's awesome.
Well, it's to me, it's kind of like bittersweet. It's sad.
Yes, it
because it's
is.
so many. But the very reason I put it together and the very reason I do what I do is because when I was going through my divorce, almost nearing 20 years ago,
Yeah.
that I felt alone. I was that
Yes,
person.
and we talked
and
about
I didn't
that.
have a support.
Right. I
Like, I
wish
didn't
I
have-
had that when I was going through it.
The interesting,
Yes.
there's something interesting. So I've had clients that have said, I want to get divorced, but I'm afraid of what happens after. I'm afraid of the unknown. I go, and I'm afraid of being alone. My question is, well, do you feel lonely now? Because what I don't think people realize, and I was writing about this morning when I was taking my journaling time for myself. So loneliness is not synonymous with the lack of company. There are times in my life where I felt most alone when I was absorbed by a crowd of people. They just happened to be the wrong people. I think one of the in my divorce, what I learned was I settled on a lot of trades because I wasn't unaware of what my value was.
Right.
That's
So when I didn't know what I was worth, I gave myself away. And when I gave myself away, I was still hoping at some point I could recoup some value. Like we talk a lot about the sunk cost fallacy. Now in business, the sunk cost that's the initial investment, and there's this fallacy that you're going to somehow get it back. In relationships, the sunk cost fallacy is a little different because people keep investing and investing and investing, and at some point they think they're going to get some sort of return. But what happens when you give yourself away for a lower value or less than what you deserve or what you're worth, you do not ever get that return, just like in business. So you keep investing. And like you had mentioned earlier on, you start to lose yourself more and more. And then you grow, the resentment grows.
Yeah.
And you know, in my position, I thought I was mad at the person that I chose to marry. In fairness, I was angry at myself. I am the one that traded myself away.
Right.
I speak for me. I don't speak for anyone else. I came to the realization that I sold myself short. This is not an insult to the person whom I married. It was me honestly calling out the fact that there were needs that I had that I didn't have the courage or the confidence to voice because I didn't know that I didn't know that I was entitled to, like, no one has the right to belittle you, put you down. You have the right. Everyone has a right to be happy. But when you don't know your value, you miss out
Right.
on all of these rights. So, and I want to hear this from you. We got about 2 minutes before we go to, so I want to turn this over to you really quickly. And I'm sorry to put it on you like this, but you know, I had this struggle. I have clients with this struggle. How does what I say sound to you?
it completely resonates because I know that when I got married, I knew at that point subconsciously that this was not the right decision.
Right.
And yet we go forward.
hadn't-
Yeah, and yet you do it.
Yep, because you think that's what you're supposed to do.
Yes, that's the blueprint.
Right. Well, yes. Yes. So
That's
how
the
do you?
blueprint.
There's a blueprint that you're taught. This is what life is supposed to look like, and you didn't realize that blueprint did not fit your life.
Right.
So how did you
Right.
find yourself and your way out of this?
Through a heck of a lot of pain.
That's a rhetorical question, Ben.
Sure. Well, I think it's an ongoing process.
It is.
So
Yeah.
there's so many things that people don't take into consideration. People don't look at their programmed, the subconscious programming, their biases, their trained opinions, their trained assumptions.
Yeah.
We are a trained animal.
You know, I still don't think we mentioned the fact that Angie's from Canada, did we?
You know, we. So wait a second.
I feel like we should sing the anthem, like, "Oh Canada."
So you know what's so crazy about this? You come from a totally different place in this world, and yet we relate.
Yes.
So wait, we are so glad you're here. We got a couple of seconds, and we're gonna go to a commercial break. But I want to get back to like how you came up with your rebuild. Teresa's gonna talk about your rebuild. I'm gonna talk about our rebuild, and this is such a great show. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see you guys in a couple of seconds. Got to pay a few bills.
Yeah.
Do a few
Pay bills.
commercials, and you are the best.
Thanks, Angie.
You're welcome.
Ben, I found the greatest invention ever.
Okay.
I went to take my patio furniture out,
Okay.
and I realized that last year when I put it all away, I put them in these big zipper bags from Wrap America.
Yes.
Life-changing.
Yes, no. Rap America is awesome. Tommy definitely helped me out on a few different occasions. He
It
actually
holds patio furniture, wave runners, ATVs. It's weather resistant. It's the
advanced
best.
protection wrap
Yes.
is economical and a practical choice.
So call 516-830-0040, or you can go onto their website, wrap-america.com.
All right, since we have a meeting after this in West Islip,
Yes.
I got a place for us to go.
Oh, you do?
Because I'm going to be hungry, so we're going to go to Our Little Italy, 636 Union Boulevard, West Islip, New York, 11795. If you want to know, call 631-661-6246. Pickup and delivery are available. Ask for John. Go on www.ourlittleItalymenu.com to find out what they have.
Oh, I heard they have good chicken parm. Hey, Ben,
Yes.
I need to talk about solar energy.
Okay. I want to hear about
Lighthouse
it.
Energy Partners. Go solar and start saving today.
Makes sense.
Owner, operated by women.
Ooh.
We believe in order to close the gender gap in the energy field, we need to showcase key female players and keeping them behind the scenes. Their mission is to serve clients with the highest level of integrity, stability, and respect by viewing their customers as partners. Any energy project you have in mind, call on Lighthouse Energy, www.lighthouseenergypartners.com, 631-275-0091, located in Babylon Village, New York.
So I have great news. Since we do this show on divorce, when divorce hits, maybe you want to sell the house. Maybe you need a C of O, a certificate of occupancy for certain things in the house. So if you're looking to make some home improvements, need an architect, contact Certified Drafting. Selling your home, need permits for existing structures, need a property survey, contact Certified Drafting. Certified Drafting will handle all building department matters, serving Long Island for over 20 years. www.certifieddrafting.com, office number 516-844-0420, or you can email Kevin Daly at certifieddrafting.com. Tell them you heard about this from the show, from Breaking the Vow, and you're going to receive a 10% discount.
We love Kevin.
I love Kevin. I think that's pretty awesome. And we're back. So, during the break, we talked about image. Would anyone like to talk about what image is?
I can definitely relate to that because before I got married, I thought, you know what, I grew up in a religious home, and you know what, the ideal was that you you graduate, you go through school, you graduate, you find a partner, you get married, you have kids, and that's your life.
Yep, that's the blueprint.
Yeah, I don't, I've joked that I don't necessarily fit anybody's mold. I don't know if you've seen the meme about what you can do with that mold,
Right.
but I don't fit in anybody's box.
Good for you.
I bust that box wide open, and I'm sure my mom and dad are just like, oh my God, this girl, what are we going to do with her?
Well, I think there's a woman, I'm sorry, there's a word for that. There's a word for that when you broke out of the box.
Yeah.
What word would you use to describe that?
I would call it being my own person.
I would call it freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would call it I've arrived.
Yeah, I've arrived. Actually, I can. Is a tattoo that Theresa has on her wrist. And what happens is when you come to this level of awareness, right? And your level of consciousness improves and your level of understanding improves, all of a sudden and the sky clears and you're like, wait a second. I don't have to fit into anyone else's mold. I don't have to ask permission to think, feel, or have emotion. I can choose how I interact. I can choose who I want to spend time with. I think it's the ultimate dream, isn't it?
You know what? It's funny that you say that, is because, all these voices are coming at you, right? And you're like, oh, but if I do this isn't going to fit what so-and-so said. Oh, this isn't going to fit what so-and-so said. I remember after making the decision to leave my husband and my kids, for that matter, my mom left a letter on the windshield. And because I didn't think it was their business as to why I was leaving.
Well,
I didn't have to get her permission.
Right, exactly.
It wasn't their.
It wasn't their business.
No, it wasn't. My ex had a different opinion on that, which was part of our bone of contention.
They all do.
And the words that I think I still may have that letter actually, because I collect funny, weird things like that. But it's because they only have a certain perception of what your life is like. And that's the key right there. When you see somebody else's life, you see what they want you to see. Just like when people looked at our lives, like mine and my husband's at that time, they could see a certain way that we were coming across. They didn't see the inside. And when I left, I don't think people realized that I had been gone until like 6 months afterwards. And like, oh, Angie's not, you're not together, because they just expected a certain thing and they didn't know what was going on the inside. So when we see somebody else that looks like they have it all together, remember it's not necessarily
true at all.
How it is.
Yeah.
So everyone struggles, right? I mean, it would be a lie to say no one struggles, no one experiences pain, no one experiences loss, no one experiences heartache. Everyone has experienced rejection. So what happens is we have these ideas, these trained ideas, and this belief system that we were taught. Even if it fits or it doesn't fit, we were still taught it. So then we indoctrinate that as truth. And then what happens is one day we wake up and say, this truth isn't fitting for me. It just doesn't fit. If it fit, I would be happy. I'm not happy. And then what happens is you wake up from that. And then you have to define a process. So I came to a realization towards the end of my marriage. I said, this just isn't it.
This is really not where I want to be.
Yeah, and nor was it where she wanted to be.
See,
at
least you agreed on something.
Yeah, no, one thing. So we were two people at different parts in our life. She had her needs, her wants, her ideas, her opinion. I had otherwise.
Different.
We were different, and I remember seeing my daughter looking at us, and I never wanted her to look at this and be like, this is what a happy marriage is. And that was very important to me because regardless to what had happened or what happened afterwards or wherever the relationship is going forward or after, as a parent, I do want my daughter to have the best life possible. And I want her to have the freedom to discover and define what that means on her own, not spoon-fed or force-fed by a programmed lifestyle.
Right.
And I mean, Theresa, I think you experienced a moment of realization when you were like, you know what? That's it.
Yeah, I'm done.
And there's a freedom to that.
There is. There's a total freedom to that.
But at the same time, we're not going to call this easy.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
We're not going to call
No,
this
you
easy.
can't call it easy.
So what do you think the biggest intimidations were in the beginning for you?
My kids.
Okay.
My kids.
I think kids are a big intimidation. I think
Yes.
finances are a big intimidation.
Yes.
What other intimidations do you think there might be?
You know what? The kids, that's huge. And because for me, I left my 3 children who were 9, 6, and 6 months.
Wow.
Judgment.
Yes.
Because the words that came through my mind, and it still hurts.
Yeah.
Like 20 years later, but the fact that what kind of mom leaves her children? But the realization
kind of mom that
was,
needed to.
it had to be tough in order for me to do that.
Right.
I was numb.
Yeah.
I was numb at that point. And you know what? I'll admit I was depressed. I wasn't 20 years ago. Therapy, mind you, I should have been probably in therapy years before that, even with the traumas before,
Right.
which I had alluded to that I shouldn't have been maybe going into marriage
Right.
to begin with.
Right.
But it's
So I think what you said is so incredibly brave and valuable, and I'll tell you why. So trauma does so much more than people consider. Trauma, bullying, loss, sickness, just our social influence, all of these things create connections in our thinking. And we have this connection to fear and rejection. So shame, blame, guilt, fault, that all leads to rejective thinking. And that feeling is so uncomfortable. We start to live our life in a way so we don't feel that. So therefore, we make decisions like, well, if I get married, maybe this will make me okay. In my position, I could say, yes, I thought maybe if I did this, maybe if I walked the line, I would be okay. It did not work, but I didn't know that at the time. I think, hindsight is 20/20 and growth takes time, awareness takes time. So for listen, shell to shine. This was your journey. That was you in the shell, but now here you are shining, helping like 10,000 people, did you say?
Yeah.
it's
Over
close
10,
to
I think.
10,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
In one group. Yeah.
So when we talk about things like depression, or when you mention things like depression, it's so funny to me because people don't allow themselves that word. It's almost like, well, don't talk about that or deny it. You know what? I think there is pride in being honest about who you are, what you think, what you feel. There is no weakness
No.
in disclosing these things.
No.
It's actually the most strengthening thing you could do for yourself is be honest and self-aware, not self-deprecating. Not self-destructive, but being honest and saying, hey, this is who me. So one of the things I'll say is, well, the old Ben would have thought this way. The new Ben, I don't go that way anymore. That's not for me. So it sounds like you have had some amazing strides and growth, and you've gone through so much.
That's, you know what? My saying is that I did the best I could with what I had at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's true of a lot of people. That divorce is only one of the losses that I've experienced. And I relate it to death, and I can do that because I've experienced that in a couple different forms. And that's one of the traumas that I dealt with before.
So loss, it is a loss, and you
Yeah.
grieve it. So we're
You
gonna
have
go.
to grieve it.
We're gonna go to a commercial, and then we're gonna come back in a couple of minutes, and we're gonna talk about loss and grieving, and then growing.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
All right.
Ben, I found the greatest invention ever.
Okay.
I went to take my patio furniture out,
Okay.
and I realized that last year when I put it all away, I put them in these big zipper bags from Wrap America.
Yes.
Life-changing.
Yes. No. Rap America is awesome. Tommy definitely helped me out on a few different occasions.
It holds patio furniture, wave runners, ATVs. It's weather resistant. It's the
Advanced
best.
protection wrap
Yes.
is economical and a practical choice.
So call 516-830-0040, or you can go onto their website, wrap-america.com.
All right, since we have a meeting after this in West Islip,
Yes.
I got a place for us to go.
Oh, you do?
Because I'm going to be hungry, so we're going to go to Our Little Italy, 636 Union Boulevard, West Islip, New York, 11795. If you want to know, call 631-661-6246. Pickup and delivery are available. Ask for John. Go on www.ourlittleItalymenu.com to find out what they have.
Oh, I heard they have good chicken parm. Hey, Ben,
Yes.
I need to talk about solar energy.
Okay. I want to hear about
Lighthouse
it.
Energy Partners. Go solar and start saving today.
Makes sense.
Owner, operated by women.
Ooh.
We believe in order to close the gender gap in the energy field, we need to showcase key female players and keeping them behind the scenes. Their mission is to serve clients with the highest level of integrity, stability, and respect by viewing their customers as partners. Any energy project you have in mind, call on Lighthouse Energy, www.lighthouseenergypartners.com, 631-275-0091, located in Babylon Village, New York.
So I have great news. Since we do this show on divorce, when divorce hits, maybe you want to sell the house. Maybe you need a C of O, a certificate of occupancy for certain things in the house. So if you're looking to make some home improvements, need an architect, contact Certified Drafting. Selling your home, need permits for existing structures, need a property survey, contact Certified Drafting. Certified Drafting will handle all building department matters, serving Long Island for over 20 years. www.certifieddrafting.com, office number 516-844-0420, or you can email Kevin Daly at certifieddrafting.com. Tell them you heard about this from the show, from Breaking the Vow. You're going to receive a 10% discount.
We love Kevin.
I love Kevin. I think that's pretty awesome. And we are back. I think the topic that we want to talk about now, loss, grieving the loss, and growing from the loss. So everyone has their own viewpoint on this. I think everyone has their own process. I know what my process was, but I want to hear from, what do you when you bring someone on your show, like what is the process?
I've got a program that I've developed, and it's called the 12 Stages of Separation, and basically it's dealing with the various emotions that you go through, and it's a loss. You have to grieve it. Specifically with divorce, but that model is based on death. Mm-hmm. You have to grieve the sense that what you thought was going to happen, mm-hmm. you had this envisionment of, spending forever, of course, with this person. You don't wake up one day, you get married and then, oh yeah, I think I'll get divorced today. It doesn't happen like that.
No, not at all.
You need to grieve. You need to grieve that vision, that life, that person, mm-hmm. because you had good times. You can't mm-hmm. have all been horrible. So you need to grieve that process and what you envisioned was going to be.
I agree. I think that, you experience death a lot in your life, but you die once, right? There's a lot, but at the same time, you die a lot of times. I mean, there's a lot of different versions of me. So the 48-year-old version of me is far different than the 38-year-old version of me, and certainly far different than the 33-year-old version of me.
Yeah.
And I've experienced loss since then, but the benefit to it is, rather than being my own worst enemy, I learned how to be my own best friend, my own hero. I learned how to pull myself through.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, who's there for you?
Right. Plant your own garden, decorate your own soul, and
Love
don't
that.
wait for anyone to bring you flowers.
Love that. So the whole thing is learning a sense of accountability. That's something that would help breed empowerment.
Absolutely.
Now you're starting to take care of yourself. So please tell us more about how you coach through, that 12 steps.
We start out with going through those tough emotions because, at divorce, there's got to say, there's a lot of anger happening there. A lot of anger, a lot of shock, pain.
Fear,
sadness.
Sure. I mean, I experienced a lot of fear.
Yeah, absolutely. Fear is huge. And to discover going through, being accepting of those emotions, some people want to sweep it underneath the rug and just jump from one. Okay, well, this person didn't work out. Okay, well, let's jump into another one because this person didn't fit my mold or my expectation.
Right.
And instead of when they've given up trying to fix that person, and we know that when you try to fix someone, it doesn't always work.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
So
No.
nor should it. Do you want to be fixed? I don't know. I think you should be happy in who you are. That other person, when you're resonating at a level that is at a higher vibration, and you're following the laws of attraction, you are going to then attract somebody that is okay with all of your being.
Right.
So we move through those tough emotions, those intense emotions of that emotional roller coaster, to moving into, okay, well, what do I do with how do I even envision a life without this person? How? Because you're so dependent on that person to equate your happiness.
Well, you've been trained to believe in this picture. And now who am I going to be now that picture was proven to be inaccurate, false, or faulty? So I think there's a lot of blaming that goes along. So when the first coaching program that I took, I had to write a vision statement for my first client, and that was how I was going to graduate as a life coach. And I remember thinking about this. And if you talk about what is this going to look like? What is my life going to look like now?
Yeah.
So if you can't see it, it's very difficult to have it. And if I can't feel better than my thoughts, or I can't think better than my feeling, I have to create a vision. So once I have that vision of something that looks strong, like I started to build this idea of me because I've always wanted to be a writer. So I saw myself and I envisioned me writing
You manifested it, and it happened.
Yeah.
Hello.
Absolutely. I'm about to put out a fourth book. But if I didn't learn how to see this, and if all I did, man is what he thinketh, I think therefore I am. If this is true, then let me think the best version of me. Otherwise,
Right.
I'm going to be stuck with more of the same.
Right.
Doesn't that make sense?
Right.
It's kind of like the definition of insanity, right? You keep doing the same thing over and over and over again and expect a different result.
Right.
But if you you need to work within yourself first. It's like the best way I can describe it is create a dating process, not with somebody else, but with you.
Right.
Chances are, because you've lost yourself, you need to find out who that person is. When you look into the mirror and you don't know who that person is, you don't remember what you even like to do.
Right.
Maybe it was so restricting. You have no idea. So try.
Mm-hmm.
Try new things.
I think another thing people are lost in is their definition of what love is.
Yeah.
So love is, to me, is a mutually beneficial yin yang give take. It's just mutually it's a mutual complement, and it's not forced or coerced. It is, and I can see in my life so many different relationships that I had that I'm like, all right, this one's going to make me be okay. So I had to force myself to fit a mold. Mm-hmm. Once I learned to stop trying to fit into anyone else's mold, I had the freedom to be who I am. And once I found people in my life, not just intimately or romantically, but people that I can coexist with and complement each other, I think that was the freest feeling. I mean, that was when I started to realize, like, I have real friends now. Mm-hmm. I don't have to worry about who's talking about me behind my back.
Why would you worry about that anyway? Who cares?
I was painfully insecure for most of my life.
Yeah, that's true. You were.
Thank you. I was painfully insecure for most of my life. And then one day I just decided this is not working for me.
Right.
You know, so the first book that I wrote was called Operation Depression, and someone read it and they were like, it's pretty sad. I'm like, did you notice the title, man? Like, Operation Depression. At no point is it about puppy dogs and rainbows. You know, it's not a Harry Potter book at all. It's not fantasy, but at least from where I came from, I learned from shell to shine in my own way. And I think that is a perfect way of explaining, because I was literally a shell of myself for so long. I didn't know how to free myself. I also didn't have coaches like you in my corner. Think about this.
Where were you?
Well, right, exactly. But, here's the whole thing. When we talked about this in the commercial break, how many people have we met that were coaches or therapists, and you're like, buddy, do you go home and kick the dog? Come on, like, this is, you don't seem real. There is nothing real about you.
Did you really just say that out loud?
I met so many coaches, and I remember thinking, oh my God, you suck. Like, I would never trust any of my inventory with you. When I became a coach, I saw some of the coaches, and I remember thinking, I'm never going to be like them. What was your inspiration? I would love to know your inspiration.
You know what? When I got to say that my divorce was my biggest life lesson.
Amen.
We talked about breaking the vow. That was me breaking the vow to who I was. Never was I ever going to be that low of a spot again. Because I can envision that exact feeling. Right. Never was I going to be feeling like I was in the middle of the ocean with cinder blocks on my legs,
drowning,
trying to be above water and seeing no help ever. So when you see no help, you have to become your own help. And never was I ever going to become like my ex or my in-laws. I was not going to become bitter. And I was going to be a better person.
Right.
I've seen too many people become bitter by their circumstances, and you can become bitter or you can become better.
Better, right.
And
I think that's great.
Better.
All right, we're going to go to a commercial. We're going to do our last segment and the constructive conclusion. We'll be back in a couple of minutes, and we'll see you soon.
Ben, I found the greatest invention ever.
Okay.
I went to take my patio furniture out.
Okay.
And I realized that last year, when I put it all away, I put them in these big zipper bags from Wrap America.
Yes.
Life-changing.
Yes, no. Rap America is awesome. Tommy definitely helped me out on a few different occasions.
It holds patio furniture, wave runners, ATVs. It's weather resistant.
Advanced protection wrap
Yes.
is economical and a practical choice.
So call 516-830-0040, or you can go onto their website, wrap-america.com.
All right, since we have a meeting after this in West Islip,
Yes.
I got a place for us to go.
Oh, you do?
Because I'm going to be hungry, so we're going to go to Our Little Italy, 636 Union Boulevard, West Islip, New York, 11795. If you want to know, call 631-661-6246. Pickup and delivery are available. Ask for John. Go on www.ourlittleItalymenu.com to find out what they have.
Oh, I heard they have good chicken parm. Hey, Ben,
Yes.
I need to talk about solar energy.
Okay. I want to hear about
Lighthouse
it.
Energy Partners. Go solar and start saving today.
Makes sense.
Owner, operated by women.
Ooh.
We believe in order to close the gender gap in the energy field, we need to showcase key female players and keeping them behind the scenes. Their mission is to serve clients with the highest level of integrity, stability, and respect by viewing their customers as partners. Any energy project you have in mind, call on Lighthouse Energy, www.lighthouseenergypartners.com, 631-275-0091, located in Babylon Village, New York.
So I have great news. Since we do this show on divorce, when divorce hits, maybe you want to sell the house. Maybe you need a C of O, a certificate of occupancy for certain things in the house. So if you're looking to make some home improvements, need an architect, contact Certified Drafting. Selling your home, need permits for existing structures, need a property survey, contact Certified Drafting. Certified Drafting will handle all building department matters, serving Long Island for over 20 years. www.certifieddrafting.com, office number 516-844-0420, or you can email Kevin Daly at certifieddrafting.com. Tell them you heard about this from the show, from Breaking the Vow, and you're going to receive a 10% discount.
We love Kevin.
I love Kevin. I think that's pretty awesome.
And we're back. So, Angie, we're going to talk about the differences in divorce in Canada versus the United States. And it's really not that much different, right?
You know what? I think it really depends on your circumstance and the amount of contention I think that there is between the parties involved.
Yeah.
My instance in being where I'm from in Manitoba, and I believe it's the same across Canada, where you need to have, for the most part, a separation period of an entire year.
Now, during that separation period, do you live with each other or you're really separated?
No, you need to be separated. I guess a certain date of where you would say that the relationship ended, ideally living apart. But you know what? COVID has thrown a wrench into that.
Right.
It would seem as well.
Right.
Things are very different now. But in the group that I have, I've got women all over the world.
Yes, you do.
All over the world. And there are differences in various different countries.
Yeah, like
even
here
you
live with your spouse, especially if you both own a house. So even though you would go to the separation process, you're still living together because no one wants to move out because of the abandonment issue. So
yeah.
In my case, it was different, but the laws changed. And so I think 06, June 1st, 2006, I left what was the home that I lived in, and then I went back to my old neighborhood that I grew up in. So my life kind of went full circle. And I moved into, I went from a big home with a half-acre in-ground pool, 2-car garage, to a little upstairs apartment in a private home. And it was fine because my neighborhood kind of allowed me the anonymity of coming home almost like coming back to mom's house and having a warm bowl of soup. That's exactly how I viewed it. But we had to be separated for a year, and then we got divorced under something called constructive abandonment, and then it just kind of came through with that.
Yeah, see, I didn't have any of that. I just went straight to divorce.
I think. Well, I agreed to a lot of things that I might not. I don't know that.
No,
what I
but
did
there was not even a question. Like, it just went straight to divorce. There was no separation, even though we had to live together.
Oof.
Yeah, we had, through the divorce process, we had to live together. Can you imagine that?
Yeah,
I'm divorcing this person because I don't like them, but now you're making me live with them.
Yeah, I don't think. Fortunately, I found a place to go. She had a place to live. Fortunately, our finances, because she was financially a bit more well off than I, and came from a family that was.
Did you have a prenup?
Yeah,
You did. Okay.
I signed the prenup. Sure. I see nothing wrong with a prenup.
No, I was just asking.
Yeah.
Because I always wanted to ask that question, but I never did.
Yes, I did sign a prenup. It was actually when.
Because we all knew you were getting divorced.
Yeah, I think so.
We all knew. The only person that didn't know was you.
No, I think I knew. I just wondered. I remember on my wedding day. I remember thinking, how long is this gonna last, man?
Yeah.
And then I go, and then I was like, I know a lot of people depressed, but I remember thinking, like, again, insecurity does a lot. Fear does a lot. This whole social pressure that you have to be this certain person.
The blueprint.
Yeah, and it didn't fit me. So, hey, we went through what we went through. The great thing is, no matter where you are, Canada, anywhere in this world, the core of us are all similar. We all have hopes, dreams, aspirations, ideas, doubts, and fears. So energy is neither positive nor negative. It's just an energy source that needs a direction of flow.
Yeah.
So once we learn to switch that direction to benefit ourselves, I think that's incredibly constructive.
Hey, Angie, is it no fault there? Like, it doesn't matter if you cheated, or is it no fault?
There is a no fault, and that's what my ex and I had.
Okay.
And really, yeah, and I.
Yeah, we had that too. It's no fault here in New York.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's no fault. It doesn't matter what you do.
We didn't even talk about like anything like that. We just both knew that goodbye was the only words that were. Sometimes, divorce is necessary. It really is.
I mean, obviously, because 60% of the population thinks it is.
Sure. Well, also, people have become emotionally and spiritually lazy, and I could say that I certainly was, because if I wasn't lazy, I would have sought to reach what I deserved. I forfeited so many things so many times over,
and that makes total sense.
Right.
Yeah.
I could see where there were things that happened, or I had in-laws just like everyone else, and there were things that I disagreed with. But if they said something, I remember taking it as if I deserved it, because as if I was less than. And then one day I was like, I started getting angry at the woman I married, and I realized it's not her fault. First off, I allowed people to treat me and speak to me a certain way. So they just assumed it's appropriate because I've accepted it before. Yeah. But, even if I said, hey, I'm sorry, I don't allow people to speak to me that way, and walked away. You don't have to have an argument, You can get up and walk out of the room. Right. Why'd you leave? I'm sorry, I don't allow people to speak to me that way.
Yeah.
I think I'm worth more.
Yeah.
Again, that's that boundary, right?
Right. Yeah. And I never learned how to set boundaries. Yeah. The problem with boundaries, especially when they have been violated, is you become accustomed to that violation. And then it's very hard to recreate that. You essentially, you are recreating yourself. And again, in the construction of my new personality, or my new identity, I'll say, I had
Ben 2.0.
The Ben 2.0. I never knew how to say any of that stuff. I never really knew what a lot. I just knew that I lived a certain way for so long that wasn't working for me. I deserved to be happy.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
isn't that all? Doesn't
Yeah.
everybody deserve to be happy?
Everybody deserves to be happy.
We're kind of like in the pursuit of happiness, right? Like the movies. So
That's
Right.
the goal.
we're in the pursuit of our own
Yeah.
happiness.
Right.
And we equate happiness to another person.
Right.
And it's like, no.
Yes, it's not
no,
happy.
That's not supposed to be.
Right. That's not the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be happy you. No one can make you happy. You have to make you happy.
There's
There's
That other
my
person is not meant
constructive
to.
conclusion.
yes, you have to make you happy.
Right.
You have to make you happy, because if you can't, and then you
No
are
one else is going
codependent
to.
on someone else and putting their happiness above yours, well, since that's not realistic, you'll never be happy.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're always chasing the carrot. You're always chasing something that doesn't work. It doesn't work. If someone else's happiness takes priority, then the priority of your happiness is secondary.
Right.
So then, how are you primary? How does that work? Where do you come first? And how does that translate to your value?
Well, you know what? A good friend of mine and business partner has said, and we end our own podcast off with this, is how does he put it about the best relationship you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself.
Exactly.
It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be.
If you know who you are to begin with. So
one of the
that's
challenges
key.
that I face, and that I see some of my clients face, and I think Theresa and I have spoken about this before, that people face this struggle of accepting who they are. Right? So, well, if I'm not this, then who am I? If I'm not great at this, then who am I? Well, everyone has their own greatness. Everyone has their own qualities. And we seem to be so focused on our imperfections. So love has nothing to do with imperfection. Love has everything to do with the person for you, and you yourself are perfect. Imperfections are irrelevant. We all have them. We all have them. Everyone is fighting a battle at some point. And when someone comes at you and tells you, oh, well, I don't live that way, I'm fine, that's them. Good for them. However someone else lives, it has nothing to do with me. Or when someone treats you a certain way, right? And they're like, oh, well, that's Jimmy, and Jimmy just treats people that way. That doesn't mean I have to accept that. It doesn't mean I like Jimmy or get along with him. What it means is that person treats people a certain way, and I don't have to accept that. So we're coming to the end of our show. I think this was like, you got to come back.
Yes, Angie, you have to.
You got to come back. Because
I would love to. That's
and
only
grab
but one
someone
layer.
else from Shell to Shine.
yeah.
Grab
How
someone
about
else from Shell to Shine and have them on.
How does that sound to you?
Oh, I would love that.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
It's the beginning of a great collaboration.
This is so much fun.
So much fun.
Thank you so much for being a guest.
Thank you.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for allowing me this space and to share a bit about my story. I hope that it is helpful in your audience.
It's going to
it's
help
going to
so
be.
many people.
You're the best. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Angie.
All right, and
You're
we're out.
welcome.